Feuer. Warum kommst du bei mir dann paranoid? Ich hab nur nackt bei dir abgestaubt. Und du sagst, ich endlich deine Dienste beraubt dein Bett. Du denkst wirklich, du bist wichtig. Wirklich wichtiger als ich. Denkst du wirklich, du bist wichtig? Live, vielleicht auch nicht.
Well, what's up? Welcome everybody. Hope you can hear me okay. There's Nancy, there's Sharebear 2000. Welcome Sharebear. J-Mad, long time no see, brother. Judy Bell is here also. So hopefully you can hear me okay. Wait 1 second. Stupid thing. There we go. Hi, how are you guys? You weren't expecting to see me, I'm sure. So welcome to TSP TV. We are live. This is a new setup. Come in closer. That sounds creepy, Sharebear. That's the sort of thing that somebody would say if they had a basement with a drain. Come in a little bit closer. It's just a game. So anyway, I don't know if or not you can hear me as well as you should. Sorry, got an itchy eye. Excuse me, that doesn't help covering the mouth, so I don't know if or not we're going to stick with this, but I do got a little bit of stuff going on and set up for you today. We will be changing the angle of the camera momentarily, and we will be pointing it towards the computer screen. I do got some articles set up ready to look at with you today. We have had a lot of strange events and goings on in the last 24 hours. Some of you may have caught the video I put up this afternoon about the explosion in Lebanon, and that is why tonight is titled Explosive Events. So we are going to be talking a little bit more about the goings on there. What's up? Welcome ATN. So we will be talking a little bit about the goings on in Lebanon. What happened in Beirut is way beyond what they're telling us, and I'm pretty sure some of you may or may not agree. So some of you guys are doing your hellos and stuff in the chat there, so we'll give it a couple of minutes before we do dive into these articles. But as I said, I put a little video up this morning, or this afternoon rather, where I did put together some of the stuff that I was seeing this morning over my morning coffee and my smoke. I was unaware of the event. Something I did a few months ago was literally detach completely from mainstream media. I really don't pay any attention to the news at all, and only really the stuff I get, kind of what is going on in current events and coming in through the mainstream media, is what I get in small doses from social media, on Facebook in the morning. Even that I kind of do try to limit myself to just a small amount of time in the morning, and maybe throughout the day here and there I might check in with Messenger more than looking through my news feed. I even haven't been as active with my Facebook groups. Some of you who may not be aware of it, aside from YouTube, I actually do run quite a lot of groups on Facebook and have a collective membership of over 80,000 for various personal interest groups. But even stuff like that I kind of haven't bothered with, haven't touched, haven't really been embracing myself within social or mainstream media other than my YouTube channel, which some of you guys have been following along. And even then, some of my content over this summer has not really been about the kind of goings on in the world too much. We do try to vary our content in part of having a channel rather than just a one sort of trick program talking about the same thing. I do try to bring you a varied amount of content, and also having a varied amount of content does play games with the the algorithm, and some of you also who have followed along will be aware that I have come under much passive censorship, much shadow banning, community strikes, all stuff like that. And only recently I had a community strike lifted back in the middle of July for a video I put out about the Nova Scotia shooting. Won't say any more about that, but that did get me a hate speech strike, shut me down for 2 weeks. Now covering recent topical or contemporary events in the past has got me into trouble with YouTube. In particular, we just mentioned Nova Scotia, and prior to that, just before Christmas, there was another bang bang incident in New Jersey, which we were actually reporting on in real time as the mainstream was reporting it was happening. I was live streaming at the same time and pointing out that maybe some of the people involved with those live interviews might have been reading from a script, might have been actors that were specifically tailored for acting within a crisis. So I've got to be kind of careful how I language this. And some of you who have watched that video that I put up today, Beirut bombings, the Lebanon explosion video, have mentioned that the audio is very quiet. Now I can assure you, my side of things, I don't do anything to the audio to make it quieter or louder, anything like that at all. And if you watch that video and its duration, there are parts of the mainstream news snippets that I put in that video. The volume is perfect, but when I'm talking, it is a little bit quiet. Now my copy, I could even get it up and show you on my phone, probably we will do later. But anyway, that isn't of my doing. I believe that is some passive censorship, some shadow banning going on. I couldn't really sort of ban the video because I was very careful not to say anything that could trigger the algorithm into believing it was hate speech or something that went against community standards. I've had a few videos also removed in recent weeks. Filming Your Hospitals, I had a Film Your Hospitals video removed from St. Joseph's here in Toronto, which I did a couple of videos there actually. One of which was removed. I had another video at the lockdown protest. I think possibly it was the biggest lockdown protest a few months back. And that got struck for community strike because Michael Jackson was playing in the background. So my suspicions rather, is that is YouTube's censorship at play, making parts of that video inaudible, just like they made some of those live streams very pixelated. And that's actually what I believe is a filter that they've put on during the processing part of the upload or streaming process. Hey Shawnee, glad to have you. Hello there, Gregory Rooks, Galveston, another Texan, right? Gregory, are you Anika's friend? Didn't we have you the other day, or am I thinking of somebody else, or we just have a strange connection to Texas? I don't know. So anyway, as I said, guys, I've got to be a little bit careful about what we talk about tonight, but I can sure as hell tell you my honest opinion, what the mainstream is telling us about this explosion out in Lebanon being the result of some kind of fireworks factory that caught fire, and then there was a warehouse that was close by that there was a whole bunch, nearly 3 tons of 3,000 tons, I think, of, what do they call it? Oh, I've forgotten it now. Ammonium nitrate. There you are, the fertilizer that is used in homemade bomb making ingredients. So that is what they're saying. But this gunpowder, not gunpowder, this explosive, the fertilizer, the ammonium nitrate, apparently there is reports that I've seen that this was on a Russian tanker ship a year ago, and it kind of was trying to get into the port of Beirut. Is it Beirut? Yes, the port of Beirut. Sorry, I lost my train of thought then. But this was around last year that it was trying to get into the port of Beirut because it was experiencing some difficulties out at sea. What those difficulties were, I do not know. But the Port Authority of Beirut kind of, no, you can't be coming ashore. You can't be coming ashore. Look at all this fertilizer you've got on. This is kind of contraband. You can't be bringing that into Lebanon. We're going to have to confiscate that. But anyway, they brought the boat into port, apparently. I don't know how accurate or legitimate this is, or even if this isn't misdirection and pointing fingers to the Russians. But they supposedly confiscated all this ammonium nitrate that was on this Russian tanker ship and put it into the warehouse, which it was stored in until only yesterday, when apparently this firework factory caught fire. And then spread far enough to where this warehouse was, and then detonated the fertilizer. You couldn't have made a better bomb if you were trying. Really, you couldn't. This is so accidental and so coincidental. But that is a little bit of the story about this Russian boat that some of you may or may not hear or heard about, as to how maybe this ammonium nitrate actually got to be in this warehouse. As I said, a lot of this is very, very bizarre, and there are so many comparisons. Certainly from what I saw in the main, yeah, JMAD for real is a mini nuke. It is a mini nuke. There's no way. Did you see the mushroom clouds? And even the mushroom cloud that I saw was like no kind of mushroom cloud I've ever seen. But the similarities between what we saw on the mainstream kind of newsreels and what we saw 19 years ago on a September morning in 2001. It was a Tuesday morning, to be specific. I'm sure you know the event I'm talking about, 9/11. Almost as though they've kind of got the same script, or almost it's, like how Hollywood likes to reboot things. The movies from the past, they like to reboot them and sort of modernize them. It almost seems as though Beirut is rebooted 9/11. Not only that, there also are some astonishing similarities to Oklahoma City, Timothy McVeigh. And again, that was a bomb that we were told was made with the similar ingredient, ammonium nitrate. In Timothy McVeigh, the sheep-dipped CIA operative, former military marksman in special ops. He was sheep-dipped. He was removed from the military, went through a process that he looked as though he kind of got, disgruntled with army life, gave it up, grew his hair long, started hanging out with militia and stuff. And supposedly he was the lone bomber that put together this incredibly sophisticated device in the back of a U-Haul that obliterated the FBI building down there in Oklahoma City, but kind of didn't damage a single thing on the opposite side of the street. And you'd kind of think with the dynamics of a bomb, if it blew out like this, then if it caused tremendous damage to this side of the street, then surely the other side of the street would also be damaged. But no, Timothy McVeigh, he managed to build a bomb far more sophisticated than your regular domestic terrorist, reading from the Anarchist's Handbook how to construct bombs using a garden fertilizer. But anyway, that is what they're saying, that there was garden fertilizer, shitloads of it, in a warehouse very, very close to where this firework factory caught fire. Now, I haven't actually paid any attention whatsoever to the mainstream news reports on what's been happening out in Lebanon. All that I have seen are the kind of clips and snippets and things that I put together in that video earlier, and some stuff that has been posted on TSP News on Facebook. Michelle Dion, Eternity 731. Bless her, she's been very, very active, busy little bee over there at TSP News, putting a lot of articles up. So down to 8 people watching. We did have 10 a little while ago. So if or not, people got the memo, we're going live. I don't know, who cares? There's 8 of you here. Anyway, let's see if I can figure this out for you. Hold on a second. So there's the computer. Oh no, that's wrong. I want to try and zoom in. on the screen. Who have we got there? JMad still and ATN are having a good little conversation there. So not only was, can you see that okay? Let's hope you can. So I am trying to do something a little bit different here. I'm going to get closer to the camera also. I'm going to have to probably get a different stool here. All right, so I've got the computer up on my screen. So not only was there a fire and a big explosion in Lebanon yesterday, there was also 3 other fires. One in Iran, outside Tehran, although not as devastating by a long shot as what we saw out there in Lebanon. So this is the first one we're going to look at. There were actually 3 other fire and explosions yesterday. So this fire, I don't know if or not you can see that okay. It breaks out in an industrial estate in Iran. No casualties, say State TV. So let me read this to you, and this comes from Dubai, Reuters in Dubai. A fire broke out at an Iranian industrial area near Tehran on a Tuesday. Iran's State TV reported the latest in a string of fires and explosions, some of which have hit sensitive sites. Now, apparently in Iran, there has been a series of fires and explosions broken out, and this one broke out in an industrial area just off the Jarad district in the Pardis County this morning. There were no casualties. Firefighters are on site trying to contain the blaze. This was as far as yesterday. So very, very suspicious that yesterday there were so many bombs and explosions and fires around the world. If or not any of them are connected, one can only surmise. But the fire department told State TV that the cause of the fire was under investigation, and there had been several other incidents at facilities in the past weeks, including a fire at the underground Natanz nuclear facility last month, which caused significant damage. So a nuclear facility got hit not so long ago out in Iran. I think that was the middle of July. And there was also an explosion at a medical clinic in the north of the city, Tehran, on July the 19th. 19 people, no, it was in July, sorry, and 19 people were killed. Officials said it was caused by a gas leak. Interesting. So gas leaks and fireworks. A lot of accidental fires going on is what the sort of narrative is here. So that was what was going on there in Iran. As I said, nothing too major. But hello, what's going on over here in China? Not only that, there was a chemical factory again that had an explosion, and guess where it was? Near Wuhan, where supposedly Novid come from. So this one actually killed 6 people. Let's get rid of this pop-up. Sorry if this isn't working as well as it should do. Hey there, Jay Silver, glad to see you. So you able to read along, or at least follow these articles. As I said, I want to try and figure out eventually how I can use OBS so I can kind of put the articles into the live stream, so it'd be a little bit more clear for you to read from. But this is, as I said, we don't want this. Let's close this down. Stupid computers. I'm going to say it was okay, inappropriate. I always say every ad is inappropriate. So again, lots of ads popping up on this one. But anyway, what are the odds that there would be a huge explosion in a chemical factory very, very close to Wuhan? Look at those snazzy shorts there. So again, this was yesterday. And 6 people have died in an explosion yesterday, as it rocked a chemical factory near the city of Wuhan in central China, according to officials. Now remember, they are a totalitarian nation under extreme communist dictatorship. So there's obviously going to be very, very large amounts of suspicion as to the official narrative that the Chinese government are telling us. I'm sure you will agree. So I'm not sure if you can see there is the fire at the factory near Wuhan. Don't know. There's no sound. So that wasn't the best of videos. What's this crazy bint talking about? So there are a couple of pictures of the explosion out there in Wuhan. What the fuck's this? Far too many pop-ups going on. This seems like a worldwide Marxist coup. Quite possibly, JMad, we are, I believe, heading towards the one world order, and this is the implementation, you know, the introduction and implication of certain behavioral social engineering patterns, as well as Sharebear said, maybe destroying evidence. We haven't seen nothing yet. Get it in a couple of weeks. Yeah, well, guys, Project Bluebeam. Those videos are getting a lot of views on my channel. In fact, more views than probably any of my other videos ever. So the UFO agenda is definitely something that I'm not going to rule out before the year is out. But here are some pictures of the explosion. That's where it was. So there's Wuhan, and that's where the explosion was. Very, very, very close. Is this working for you guys? This is the first time I tried this, so some of these live shows are a little bit experimental. The other thing I was going to try and do is do some screen recordings of me reading these articles and then insert that video into the live stream and we could watch it together. But these are some of the explosion, or pictures of the explosion going up there. In that black plume of smoke, there was something very, very similar to that in Lebanon. So those are the pictures there. There's a girl in a bikini there. Look, Emily Ratajkowski. Little bit of camel toe for you, Aztec, if you were watching. But anyway, back to the that might even get us extra views. A little bit of nudity, and that wasn't actually long ago. The Canada Day live show. We did have a real live naked girl on the show, although out of sight of camera. I can assure you it was real. There was a naked girl on TSP TV live. Shotgun, somebody commented on one of my videos. Anyway, sorry, we'll look at Shotgun Sue's comment later. The incident occurred around 5:30 p.m. in the factory of Lanahu Silicone Company in the town of Zilihu in Zantao, according to a government notice. The city Xanadu in Xanadu, they have explosions too. Sorry, I was just parodying Xanadu by Olivia Newton-John. Almost Weird Al would have been proud of that, or probably not. Anyway, so it's a little town with a population of 1.5 million people, and it's about 68 miles, less than 70 miles southwest of the capital Wuhan, which is the provincial capital. So not too far at all away from what many believe could be the epicenter and ground zero of the COVID virus. Of course, I think it just exists within the realms of mainstream media news reports, and there's no such thing, or if there is a big agenda and hoax. I'm pretty sure some of you will agree. But anyway, the explosion took place at a workshop used to store butanon oxamine, which can be used as a silicone curing agent. The Xanato Party Committee Propaganda Department said in a social media statement. So some kind of chemical or fluid or substance that they use in silicone manufacturing was what they are saying is the result of what made it explode. Footage released by the state broadcaster shows locals gathering around the factory when smoke engulfed the complex. Some nearby residents saw their windows smashed by the force of the blast, and there, I don't know if you can see, are some of the smashed windows, and that was something also that was seen in Lebanon. Lots and lots and lots of smashed windows. The city's government set 14 fire engines and more than 100 rescuers, including firefighters, paramedics, and environmental officials, to the scene to search for survivors. Among the 6 deaths, one was pronounced dead in hospital after resuscitation had failed, while the other 5 were listed as missing. So I guess they're missing, presumed dead, unless they turn up alive. 3 out of the 4 wounded people were still hospitalized as of 7 a.m. today. Officials have ordered the company to halt its production immediately. Well, I'd thought that had been kind of a given, seeing as they have had a huge explosion there. But then, you know, capitalist game, totalitarian nations, they've got to keep the wheels of production rolling. But the statement said relevant authorities were carrying out a thorough investigation into the explosion. And here is another video of the explosion, although it's a very, very short video. Let's watch it again. Oh no, I don't want to do that. So that was Wuhan. But it's not over there. Wuhan, China, Iran both had explosions, and guess what? North Korea, they are not exempt from the explosive events yesterday. Yeah, they had a very similar experience with an explosion, and this was taken on, actually it was on August the 3rd, so it was within a 24-hour period, not all on the same day anyway. A video obtained by the Associated Press shows plumes of black smoke rising from a North Korean city near the border with China amid reports that deadly explosions occurred there earlier this week. There has been no official word. Hold on a second. I've almost realized what I've missing out on. Where was I? No official word. We'll come back to that in a sec. But if I can, all right, that's what I wanted to do, and get your comments up. Oh! Sorry, I've just had a mishap with my technology. Hold on, that was a disaster from the start to the finish. Never mind, I have got some live chat coming up. 9 blast wave 550 meters. Right, let me see if I can get you up on my TV screen. So welcome 9. Didn't see where you snuck in, and you're giving some information about the explosive substances used, I'm guessing. I'm not sure if that's an ingredient or a recipe for an explosive device, but welcome to TSP TV Live. Always nice to have newbies here. The heat was, I can't see, that's a little bit too small for me there. Is that why it looks crazy outside? Well, we have seen some strange sort of cloudy skies over Toronto earlier in the week, and supposedly there's a hurricane on its way. Some pause and suspicion for weather modification. But anyway, Seoul, Korea, back to the explosive events of the last 24 hours, or actually 36 hours now, I guess. There's been no official word from North Korea or China, surprise, surprise, about what happened in the North Korean city of Haisan on Monday, but South Korean media and outside monitoring groups reported that gas explosions in a residential area left dozens of people dead or injured. The AP couldn't independently confirm the reports. And the AP is the Associated Press, for those of you wondering, not Alan Partridge, one of my comedic heroes. Excuse me. So the video acquired by the Associated Press shows orange flames, and black smoke shooting into the sky from Haisan as loud explosion like sounds are heard. A few people can be seen watching the scene from the Chinese side of the border. The video was provided by Wangbo, a travel agent. That was his name, Wangbo. It's a cool name, actually. I was going to do a voice, but I'm not going to. Anyway, Wangbo, who was a travel agent, said that he shot it from a park in the Chinese border town of Changbai. So Wangbo was in Changbai when he saw the explosions and caught them on video. I saw explosions, and there were a lot of onlookers who were looking in that direction. We don't know the reason why there were explosions, Wang said. Wang, who said he has previously visited Haisan, said the explosions happened not far from the city's orphanage and tourism office. Interesting. Orphanage. So we've had a chemical plant, we've had a firework factory, and now an orphanage. Many Chinese border towns are very close to North Korea, separated only by the river border. Wang said from Binjang Park in Changbai, where he shot the video, in summer we can see North Koreans swim in the river, and in winter people can also walk on the frozen river, the Yalu River. It would almost be an immigration nightmare running across frozen rivers, if that's all there is to separate the two nations, especially if you lived in North Korea. But then I guess frying pan fire situation, leaving totalitarian North Korea for totalitarian China. Lesser of two evils. But anyway, the Associated Press verified the location after examining other tourist videos of the park that shows the same structures and lights. Other videos of the reported explosion have been circulated on the Chinese and South Korean social media. In Seoul, South Korea's spy agency, the Unification Ministry, that sounds cool as well, something like you'd see in a movie. Hi, I'm here from the Unification Ministry. But anyway, this handles relations with North Korea, said they couldn't immediately confirm the reported explosions. The Unification Ministry spokesman, Ya Sanki, still told reporters that he felt sorry for any possible casualties. The Seoul-based Daily NK, which specializes in North Korean news, on Wednesday cited unidentified sources in North Korea as saying that the explosions left 15 people dead and the death toll could rise. It earlier reported gasoline stored at a house, gasoline is what they're saying, at a house near Haisan ignited and led to the explosions of a nearby liquid petroleum gas cylinder, and this caused a chain reaction of explosions of gas cylinders attached to other houses. Does that sound a little bit suspicious to you? Sounds a little suspicious to me. Other South Korean media carried smaller reports. An Kung-soo, a researcher, said one of his North Korean refugee sources in South Korea told him that she heard from a relative about reported explosions during a phone conversation on Tuesday. North Korea state media, which rarely acknowledge deadly accidents in the country, have not commented. Surprise, surprise. But in 2017, state media reported 6 people died when a roof on a mine collapsed. In 2014, state media said government officials had been offered an apology for the collapse of an apartment building under construction. So that is that. In terms of the explosive events yesterday outside Lebanon. So we've got some Lebanese explosions here. This is the pictures and stuff. Now this is where it kind of does get a little bit interesting. Thermobaric explosion used the O2 in the air and the nanoparticles. This was a huge bomb. The firework pre-fire was a decoy. I agree. It does seem like it was a decoy. I believe it was a trade port. I'm not sure why somebody was timed out there. But anyway, maybe I'm missing something that you guys are catching there. But yeah, a little bit. Let's sort of recap and send our minds back 19 years ago. If you can remember, there was that Tuesday morning in September where all of a sudden some of us were getting reports that there was something going on at the World Trade Center, and pretty much everybody, once they got the news, it was within minutes. It went around the globe like wildfire, literally. But within minutes of like the first aircraft or whatever it was, the first explosion at the World Trade Center. I'm a no planer, so I don't believe there were aircraft involved in that event at all. But the first explosion took place, and everybody kind of got the news within minutes. Pretty much half the world was already tuned in, watching to their local news. The same images were being played and relayed around the globe via satellite in the affiliate stations and stuff. But we were all watching the blazing tower when the second explosion occurred. We were already in place witnessing something. And that is what happened yesterday. The firework factory was on fire, and this drew the attention of everybody. Many cameras were pointed on the firework factory. I'm pretty sure local news, maybe even, global networks like CNN or Fox News may have been covering the event live. Oh, here we are in Beirut where there's a fire for the fireworks factory. Everybody was in place watching, ready to go. And once everybody was in place watching, then boom, they detonated whatever it was that ripped that city to shreds. And, there's a reason so many images and videos and stuff are circulating of this event is because everybody was supposed to record it. They were supposed to see it. Now, it was an extremely strange explosion. That kind of mushroom cloud, it kind of turned into a sort of smoke ring. Were they using some kind of mini nuke directed energy weapon technology, a little bit like I believe they used on 9/11? And this is something we're going to see here. Let's see if we can get some of these pictures up for you. So this, I don't know if you can see, there are some toasted cars. I don't think you can undelete. Sorry, ATM, but it seems to be giving some very good information about explosives. And please let Nancy no more timeouts if possible. Unless, of course, as said, we are missing something. But if it was an accident, then accidents do happen. Sometimes they do. Sorry, Nine, please don't let that deter you from contributing, because you are adding some great content, it would seem. But this is, look at all these torched and toasted cars here and around in this kind of scenario. Let me go over here. Hang on, ground zero. See if you can get the cars. All right. So again, here we go. Toasted cars at 9/11. Toasted cars in Lebanon. Okay. 9/11. Lebanon. All right. Oklahoma City. Cars. All right. Devastation to the building in Oklahoma City. Devastation at ground zero, Oklahoma. And let's see if we can get a close up. Okay. As ground zero in Lebanon. As ground zero in New York. We've seen similarities here, people. And again, Oklahoma City. 3 events, 3 big explosions. There was a dead baby. Anyone who's into that kind of stuff. So there's an aerial. But a lot of these pictures are very, 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 very similar. That's what it looks like now. There is the almost immediate aftermath. There's a little bit of the tower. Now this is where you controlled that. Sorry, let's go off topic here. This is like the immediate aftermath of the destruction, because they still had this little part. That was one of the first things they pulled down. That was the last little piece of the towers that remained. Now, if you have a controlled demolition, let's say in this building here is a controlled demolition. When they bring down a building, they take out the struts and the support columns like on the way down, and they synchronize the explosion. So boom, 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 boom. The floors pull out as they hit each other, so there's no force of gravity. They free fall. But what that does is remove the space. So the majority of a building is air, right? So the space between the first floor and the second floor is air. You know what I'm saying? In the stairwells there's air. So when you bring down a building with controlled demolition, you are roughly left with 30% of the building left, the debris. So all the building, all the struts, all the steel, all the concrete falls down on top of itself, and you are left with 30% of the building's construct. The air has been removed. Are you following with me? So you're left with a pile of 30 that is, you know, the building then is left with a pile that is 30% the size of its original standing, right? So for example, if you had a building that was 1,000 feet tall and you took it out with conventional controlled detonation and demolition tactics and techniques rather, you would be left with a pile of rubble 300 feet high. Okay, grasp that. So this is what was left after 9/11, just a huge hole in the ground. You can't actually see here, but that hole there is circular and goes down quite deep. But that was all that was left. So there was no controlled demolition by people. There was a nuclear device, possibly at the base, and some kind of directed energy weaponry. just like we see at Lebanon. And there is a picture somewhere. See this? This is the immediate aftermath. All this torched and bent steel and stuff. That's just like the ship we saw at Ground Zero in 9/11. Hello, Maiden. Just out of dance class. Yeah, is 9 still here, or did we lose 9? That wasn't very cool if that was an accident or deliberate, because as I said, he was putting an awful lot of information about explosives that we could have used greatly. Please, 9, if you are still watching, please give us some more information, because that was some great stuff. So let's come out of these images here a second and see if we can find some video. Why have I got no sound? But did anyone else see any similarities in those 3 events? Oklahoma City, 9/11, and what we saw recently as yesterday. How do I get out of here? That's why.
The markets opened higher today after a big sell-off yesterday following the Fed's comments after their
Right, I know what that is. It's my I've got the live feed open in the background, so sorry about that. There he is. Welcome back, 9. We should prepare to go on the offensive to annihilate Lebanon. The weak point at the Arab coalition is Lebanon, the Muslim. I don't know what's going on over in Lebanon or not. I'm not sure who is responsible for this. Yeah, no, we don't suggest that anyone should be wiped out or annihilated. Certainly not innocent people, but there are some very, very bizarre stuff. Now, this was something interesting. This like woman. Oh no, she wasn't. There's a bride. We're not. I know none of us are perfect, Nancy. But there was a bride. Now, some of these pictures that we saw coming yesterday almost look as though they're a little bit staged, of people that were affected by like this. I'm not saying this guy isn't injured, but there was a lot of kind of similar images. Of the aftermath, I believe. But we should probably start thinking about maybe going on the offensive against the elites. Now, there was something also. Oh my goodness, I've closed down now. Lebanon explosion. Yeah, the bride's photo shoot, right? And there was a couple of other pictures that I saw that kind of looked as though they may have been like staged, and something we have seen mainstream media do in the past is stage some of these images that do get to go viral, and things that we do see on our social media feeds. So look, there's a lot of new pictures coming on of 2 Filipinos hurt in the Lebanon blast. Man, look how extraordinary like that kind of looks. Like, that doesn't look like anything that I've ever seen in terms of explosions or mushroom clouds. It did look like it was some kind of, and that was something that started Judy Woods to look and research microscopically at the events of 9/11, because she said she witnessed, sort of looking and watching things, she witnessed events and things going on that she'd never experienced before as a scientist in her field, you know, an expert in her field. She'd not seen these kind of phenomenon that we witnessed on 9/11, which put her to look. And now very similar to yesterday, that explosion was like sort of no explosion I've ever witnessed. That being said, I haven't seen that many explosions outside of TV, so I don't know, but this is another one that was kind of very similar to what we saw in 9/11, the sort of heroic firemen trying to squirt some water on to the fires there. There it is, huge explosion, Now there was a Rothschild bank supposedly, yeah, Israel and the Federal Reserve in sort of its formation in the aftermath of the war. There was, what was that event in Egypt? Something went on in Egypt in the early 50s where they bombed the British cinema, and that got the British government involved in Gaza or Giza or whatever it is. And in the aftermath of it, Israel was formed. But I'd have to go back and look a little bit more in that. But you know, there is some suggestions that there is a lot of Israeli involvement within the elites and people, you know, organizations like the Council of Foreign Relations. They seem to be a lot of Israeli dual nationals with US passports in high positions. So as I said, guys, I'm not sure what's going on there, if those are people that are getting humanitarian aid, but literally they are saying that Beirut has gone. That's another image, very similar to what we saw at 9/11. Let's see if we can get some not exactly carbon copies, but see, this is what I'm talking about. Got them there, look, squirting there, a bit of water. We had them a second ago squirting their water. Sorry if this isn't very interesting, but as I said, guys, I did try to sort of want to kind of do a little bit of research and looking into things together in kind of real time. Here again, you know, there's another one. Got the fire engines there, look. Total devastation. I'm not sure what this building here was, but somehow out of all of this stuff, look, because this is the port, and this is, I don't know if you can see there, the crane. So I think it was Sherbad. It said, is it a busy? Yes, it is. A very busy port. But look, you know, all of this devastation here. This was kind of the site. Now I don't know how much like devastation 300 tons of fertilizer or 3,000 tons of fertilizer would cause, but look at that, completing these cars down here. Look a little bit, I mean, obviously you can't see us, a little bit far away. So that kind of thing there, whatever that building was, that kind of survived quite a lot of the devastation. Again, these are kind of some of these pictures that, I'm not saying this person isn't injured, but it could almost be staged. And you know, we saw some stuff at the Pulse nightclub shooting where actors were being used as victims, and they got caught posing and staging some events. So I'm not sure. What's up, William? Glad to see you here in the house. We've been going on for nearly an hour, folks, looking into, and again, this guy, I'm not saying he isn't injured, but he's got a lot of blood on his t-shirt, but almost none on his bandage. Although, you know, the bandage would be used to kind of after the event, right? But very, very clean bandage there, and a very dirty shirt. So was this guy just kind of put in place, sort of dirtied up a little bit to look as though he was a victim? And a lot of these, as I said, you know, you may have seen circulating, like this one here of the helicopter spraying the water down onto the fire. And that was another thing that people did say they captured, were helicopters and stuff flying around overhead before the explosions. Cars damaged there from the shockwave, I'm guessing, but negative karma into the genitals, huh? Interesting stuff. So 9, you seem to have a little bit of expertise or knowledge, should we say, about explosive devices. Does this look like the kind of devastation that would be caused by 3 ton or 3,000 tons worth of fertilizer, or not so much? How about you, William? You've done some time in the military. Does that look like a fire caused just by some fertilizer? And again, if we go back to Oklahoma City, some of those images are very, very similar to what we're seeing in Lebanon, as are some of the images from 9/11. So I'm not going to show them. Here we go. Is there any way you can make them bigger? But I don't know if you can see there. There is one hole. There is 2 holes. And these were the holes where the towers were that went into the ground. And this is why it wasn't a controlled demolition, because there would be 300 feet worth of World Trade Center piled up there, not huge holes in the ground. Now there is some footage or some photographs. Let's see if we can get some holes in the ground that were very, very similar to what we saw on 9/11 in the aftermath. I'm not finding it now. Anyway, yeah, karma's a little bit misunderstood, and I always kind of find it very strange when people of Christian background develop philosophies from ancient Eastern Asian religions. But the karmas, there's like a whole series of karmas, and they're like little mantras and things that you kind of live by, in like life lessons and stuff like that. And people kind of seem to think that karma is some kind of vigilante act of sort of the acts on people's bad behavior, and punishes them with equally bad behavior. But what goes around comes around, you reap what you sow, is something that most Western folks do tend to mistake for karma. But anyway, Hinduism, Buddhism, and Hare Krishna, they all kind of practice karmas, and these are like little mantras and stuff, and you get those little books that the Krishnas used to hand out at airports. So that was all about karmas, and you would read those and bring balance and harmony to your daily routine. But anyway, everybody has their own beliefs, I guess, and many people do hold their beliefs true to themselves. So I'm not telling you what you should or shouldn't believe in, and if you want to believe in westernized karma, go ahead. But I can assure you that isn't how karma really works. But don't take my word for it. You can also go and research it all on your own. So a couple of hospitals were devastated as a result of this explosion. And there's another one of these sort of kind of pictures. It looks a little bit kind of, I don't know, if it almost looks like photoshopped. They look as though they've been sort of stuck on after the fact of the background. Anyway, so explosive events, guys, all around the world. Yesterday, in the last 36 hours, we have seen some events that were very, very similar to other false flag staged events. Now, Oklahoma City, as we kind of were mentioned earlier, was carried out by Timothy McVeigh, who was a government agent. He was a black op covert agent that was sheep-dipped, removed from the military, and made it look as though he kind of, you know, returned to civilian life, got disgruntled, and started hanging around with militias. And in the early 90s, the alphabet agencies had a operation called Operation PATCOM, which was Patriot Conspiracy, and where they tried to infiltrate United States militias and try to find out if there were any radical government takeovers or stuff in the works that they needed to know about. And Timothy McVeigh was supposedly one of these agents that they had used to infiltrate the militias, and he was conveniently seen at Ruby Ridge, at Oklahoma City as well, obviously. And I think he was at Waco in '93. He was at all three of those events, and all three of those events do have links to PATCOM, although I'm not sure if United States governmental agencies would have anything to do with what is going on in Lebanon, but the Middle East, and Lebanon does have an awful lot of opium, folks. The Middle East is sort of where opium and the poppy does grow sort of indigenously and wildly and free, and a little bit like in 9/11, even though we were led to believe it was radicalist fundamentalists that were of Saudi descent that crashed those planes into the buildings. They went to war in Afghanistan. Now, why they went to Afghanistan when it was supposedly Saudi involvement was because the Taliban had been burning the opium fields when they come to power in the late 1990s. And those big, opium and poppy fields are worth a small fortune to big pharma. Now, Lebanon also has an abundance of opium, as does Iraq, all places the United States have invaded and have left military presence in. And the reason being is because they need to protect their opium. But I still have to look in a little bit more as to what went on exactly in Lebanon. As I said, I don't really know exactly what the mainstream are telling us, other than it was a firework factory that the firework factory caught fire, and that there was a warehouse that was containing 2,700 tons of ammonium nitrate. Hello, Tristan. Welcome, welcome. Yeah, we do like to smoke some weed, and we do like to puffer. William, shit hit the fan in Beirut, putting up VG for all these interruptions. They can fuck themselves. Did I do that? Yes, you did. You are puffering. Again, I don't know. I can't make it not puffer, guys. These things are out of my hands, sadly. Anyway, let's think about wrapping this up. I'm guessing that was pretty much all the articles and stuff that I could probably go and find more if we really wanted to, but I was hoping for maybe a little bit of interaction in input from you guys, especially like on the similarities of Oklahoma City and 9/11 with what we're seeing yesterday's, but not so much. The Boston bombing, that was a very strange bombing as well. They kind of used like theatrical explosives there that didn't really damage anybody. But the police was put on leave in 2011, and he has 12 brutality charges. Who's this we're talking about? What's this police officer? Dr. Shavin was also ID'd at Oklahoma and Boston. Okay, so he was on both. He was seen at both of those events, is what you're saying, and he has been put on police leave in 2011. I'm following that. Interesting stuff. So welcome, Tristan. Are you a newbie to the thrift store live shows, or have you been around before, silently watching from the sides? So anyway, not so much info, just about the puffering. So that being said, we might wrap this up then, guys. So I don't know if or not any of you took anything from this or not. And as I said, was trying to try something a little bit different and new, where we can kind of try to use the computer to look at articles and stuff during these live feeds and live shows, and maybe we can, get a little bit of content in a topic going. But as I said, it doesn't seem as though the topic was that at all interesting, judging on the amount of input and thoughts that I'm seeing in the chat. So anyway, guys, we will wrap this up. I'm probably going to go smoke myself a little joint and look some more into this myself, because it is a little bit interesting. I do kind of get a little bit of a thirst for knowledge when events like this happen, and especially when there is such a bizarre Pink Floyd, George Orwell, Animal Farm and Dogs was a novel fiction. Well, fiction prepares us for the reality. 9, something I strongly believe in. But anyway, as I said, I did want to try a little something new, so I'm not sure if anybody wants to give me thank you, Patriots. Glad you enjoyed it. If anybody wants to give me any feedback on if or not this is a sort of thing that we should probably try to do more of, or whether we should just abandon the idea of this before we go any further. Men in Black, and that would be like the poppy, the opium seed poppy, Nancy. Interesting. Shame you didn't have any cell phone technology back then, so you could have recorded it. But the Men in Black, what year would this have been in around, Nancy? Okay, so I'm not getting much feedback, so I'm guessing maybe it was pretty shit and you're just too kind to say so. But as I said, guys, I did want to try and get something a little bit more kind of structure to the live shows. We don't always have to just press play and hope for the best. And certainly when there are events that have taken place on a global scale, I do like to try and get a little bit of think tanking going, great minds thinking alike. And maybe we can sort of work together to expose the truths. But it is still very, very fresh. There's probably still some stuff to surface over the coming days. And the other thing that was I'm not saying welcome, it was a change from hearing about the COVID shit. Thanks, Nancy, appreciate that. So this is sort of a little bit of different news from the regular kind of doom and gloom that they're propagating on the mainstream about the Novid scam pandemic. Yeah, I hope everybody has a great evening as well. Judy Bell. So what are we saying? 1 hour and 12 minutes. So should we probably try and wrap this up at about the 1 hour 30 mark? Or shall I just quit now while I'm ahead? That is the kind of cue. We do sometimes try to delay these ending these shows just to give the Gusset Girls a little bit of a chance to make their appearance and arrival. And dare I say, their little cameos. And I just seen we've gone up to double figures almost, as I said that I was about to leave. But as I said, guys, very, very strange events going on there. I do got something about Crimson Mist lined up to make a video about, and that was to do with the electromagnetic frequency mind control. I'm going to do a follow-up there because Crimson Mist was something they used in Rwanda back in the early 90s. They used some of these psychotronic weapons to order the minds of the people below, and made sure a riot broke out. But as I said, I'll probably save that for a video nobody's going to watch in the future. Was we listening TSP? I like it. Okay. Well, you're kind of like my mum, Nancy, and even if I was kind of like the kid that went to school on the short bus and licked windows and had no like use of my hands and sort of just licked on a piece of paper with a crayon stuck to my tongue, you'd probably tell me, if you were my mum, that it was the best picture in the whole damn wide world. So although I do kind of love your comments, Nancy, sometimes it's almost like, you know, what I'm trying to say. Gusset Girls, if you're on the sideline, now is your chance. But you know, I do like to tease you, Nancy, there. But anyway, I just thought it was particularly interesting, the similarities between Oklahoma 9/11 and what we saw yesterday in Lebanon. Maybe I'm the only one that thought that. That was interesting there. The toasted cars, that was something we saw. Definitely on 9/11 burning cars, and as I was saying, it was almost like they were kind of using the same script and they almost rebrewed it. Yeah, no shit. Like I said, 2020 is like a choose your own adventure. That was written by an extreme fanboy. Is it going to go Game of Thrones? Are we going to go War of the Worlds? Are we going to go Logan's Run, Soylent Green? Who fucking knows? Before this year's out, I'm pretty sure we are going to see some more calamity and drama. And you know, something I did almost suggest, because Beirut was a capital city, could this be some part of blue beam seeding? Because you know, in those UFO movies, the alien invasion, they always do tend to hover above the capital cities of the world before carrying out their destruction. I actually watched the 2005 V for Vendetta movie on Monday night. Because I've been seeing a lot of memes circulating. That's an interesting story all of its own, although probably only to me. But anyway, there's been a lot of memes circulating on social media about V for Vendetta, the movie, 2005 movie that was set in 2020. Now, it was actually set in 2027, and I had a discussion with a few people about this when I first saw that meme circulated, and even shared a screenshot with somebody from the Wikipedia link that stated it was set in 2027. Shared it on Facebook. Can't find that post now for love and money. You know, it's like things get lost in the notification. But I watched the movie there, and I also have the book just out of reach. There, showed you this before. Now in the opening chapter, the guy V blows up the Houses of Parliament, and it was the book differs greatly from the movie, but the mainstream media and within the realms of V for Vendetta is set in London, and the actual initial story from the 80s, the comic book version, was set in the 1990s, and it was a very fascist, totalitarian, almost Orwellian London, very very similar to that of Big Brother in 1984. All seeing, all listening, curfews, all that kind of stuff going on. But TV was a terrorist, and he caused a huge explosion in the Houses of Parliament at the beginning of the story, not at the end like in the movie, and brought them down. However, because the mainstream media and the government didn't want news of terrorist activities going on to cause stress to the subservient population, they said that it was done as a result of a demolition team, and unfortunately some fireworks that they didn't know about got caught up in the explosion, and that's what the fireworks that the people saw in the movie when the Houses of Parliament blew up. That's how they kind of explained it and made their excuse, but many people kind of saw through the lie. And the reason I say that is it seems like there are many lies being told about what we saw yesterday. Glad you enjoyed it, Judy Bell, and as I said, I'm kind of trying to drag it out, so I don't think I've got another 10 minutes on me, so we're going to wrap it up at the 1 hour 20 minute mark. Although I could do a turnaround and sort of I hate looking at my eyes, that's why I wear the cap, guys, so I could turn it around to say my goodbyes and farewells. Auf Wiedersehen, adieux, arrivederci, ci vediamo in another episode. That was multilingual for you, just to show you how cosmopolitan things really are at TSP TV. So Cher Bear did start this live feed saying she kind of did like this new format. If or not you guys like this new format, I don't know. Let me know. It would be nice too. As I said, I've already made a couple of videos in the last couple of days where you get to see the ugly mug instead of the prepper hands, and maybe we're sort of stepping away from the prepper hands in tiny squishy little shits and thrift fam fireplaces, though maybe we'll try and incorporate it somewhere in the background here. And now you can see my V for Vendetta mask just down there, out of sight, ready to go when the time is right. Although I'll probably go with my don't know if you can see that Rorschach mask, a little bit more sinister. In Rorschach from The Watchmen is the thinking man's V for Vendetta, and I'd actually like to see my fanboy geek world V fight off with Rorschach. That would be a battle I would love to witness, although it would be within the realms of fiction and comic books probably. But V against Rorschach would be a wonderful contest and competition. But these are two characters that do have a lot of influence from fiction, and as I said, V for Vendetta is something that is a little bit significant in today's society, and maybe we will all have to start donning the mask of V, not the fucking surgical mask, not the face diaper, not the symbol of submission in slavery, but we will have to wear the mask of freedom to end tyranny, and hopefully shit might sort itself out before it comes to that point. But I can't think of it not. I can't see it not. I think sooner or later we are going to have to stand up against the oppression and the tyranny that we are all currently being subjected to. And let's just thank our stars that we aren't in Beirut, Lebanon, and aren't waking up today to a city that has been completely devastated by what looks to be some kind of nuclear device, maybe even directed energy weaponry. As I said, I was kind of hoping for maybe a little bit of input that we could have bounced off of each other on thoughts and ideas of what could have caused it. But as I said, nobody is perfect, or that's what Nancy said earlier. So I will forgive you just this once, and if or not we try and copy this format for future live shows, I don't know. But I do got something. Where are we? Hold on. That's my outro music. So with that being said, guys, I'm going to wish you all a good night and a God bless. Thanks for watching TSP TV live this evening. Brought to you courtesy of Ship Video Productions.